Hello and welcome to another episode of Moments of Consequence. This is going to be a 10-minute topic. We are going to jump right into the magic phase discussion. I haven't posted near as much lately. I've been moving and it's been summertime. I'm a teacher, so in the summer I have less time, not more. I know that's a paradox, but I actually have less time because I'm super busy. So, magic phase. We had this awesome post by Balder, and he talked about the changes to teleportation, and it was really this open-ended conversation that he basically had like group think in real time, talk about some theoretical changes to the magic phase, and I just wanted to weigh in my 2 cents. I've had a chance to play these changes a couple of times off camera, and I've had a chance to really think about and digest all of the things that he was talked about. I've reread the comments a bunch of times, and so here we go. So just off the rip, I think that the magic phase is Warhammer. I think it's like the most thematic phase. Obviously, the movement phase is the most important, and magical spells that alter the movement phase or interact with the movement phase can then be like doubly or triply more powerful because of how those two phases can interact. I'm a big fan of the magic phase in this game. I think they have interesting and impactful moments of consequences. I think that the best parts of Warhammer come from the magic phase. Obviously, the hobbying and all that stuff aside, but from the actual playing of the game, the magic phase is the most interesting and what really separates it from other games. I mean, we've played different editions of Warhammer. Obviously, I think most of us have in this group. If you're listening to this video, I mean, there's obviously like 6th edition fantasy, 8th edition fantasy. Those magical systems were very, very different. 6th edition had magic be kind of like this passenger that just kind of like rode in the side of the game and was not central to any part of the game, and it was very much like a sit like kind of played an assistant role to the main game that was going on. And then in 8th edition, I've told a story a couple times how you could have spells absolutely dominate the game and win the game single-handedly, sometimes casted with total power or double sixes, I think it was, total power back in like 6th and 8th edition stuff. But we play a version of 4th with the cards. I've never played that before until this edition, until Warhammer Renaissance. I love it. I think it's a great system and a great addition. But yeah, so this has been my first example with it, and it's hard to believe, but I've played these rules now for 3 years now, going on 3 years. So I've had a majority, really more experience now playing the actual game with this edition of Magic than the other one. So I feel like I have a lot of experience playing with the rule sets as they've been written and the changes that have gone through. And so I'm just going to detail some of those super quick. Teleport has been changed a bunch. Remains and plays have been changed a bunch. If you've been following along with this group, you'll know that Magic was, if you think Magic is OP right now or is too strong, Magic was 3 times as strong 2 years ago. So we've already been making changes to the magic phase, and it's been balanced out while still feeling powerful and effective and like worthwhile to invest in. If Magic just absolutely sucked, nobody would play in the phase. The phase would be non-existent, and you would just build strong killy characters or multiple strong killy characters. I just feel like that's the way the meta would shift if Magic was not any good. But so let's talk about some of the teleport changes super briefly. You can no longer charge into combat, teleport people into combat. You used to be able to do that in the very first edition of it. That got taken away. You also could not teleport. You used to be able to kind of like teleport things, and as long as some of the models were within the ranges of what you're trying to teleport, you could make that teleport happen. Now, as it currently is, units and regiments have to be fully within, teleported from fully within to fully within whatever the range amount is. And there's been discussion that the ranges would change, which I'm actually going to be the first one to say I think you keep the ranges as is. I still think you make it 18 inches or 24 inches wholly within, wholly within. Some of them are battlefield wide. Some of the shadow spells are the Laura Shadows. Those have some of the all like ultimate range, all the whole board range spells. They have some of the ones that you can go anywhere on the battlefield. And I think you actually keep those descriptions as is and try to change as little as possible and still get the intended effect that Baldur is trying to have us reach and like get to. Remain in plays have been changed dramatically as well. Remain in plays have always been able to be dispelled on a 4-up, but the biggest thing is that you can't recast it the turn it was dispelled, so it allows you to shut down a remain in play spell, especially those that double the strength or toughness, like Earthblood in Jade or Aramanth in Amethyst. It allows you to shut both of those spells down for the pivotal turn that you're trying to shut down or kill the caster if they have those spells. So the magic phase has never been more balanced. It's still very strong. It is still very effective. And as I'm going to talk about, I think the teleport probably needed change, but we'll talk about why that was. I think it's easy and effective. I just want to remind everybody that it's just easy and effective to like play magic defense. It's actually so much easier and cheaper than it is to play offense. Dispel and destroy magic scrolls are very cheap and brutally effective. Like if I try to total power something, a dispel scroll just takes that away immediately, and it's very swingy back the other way forward for the defenders of whatever spell. Destroy magic spell and not only the magic card destroy magic spell, but also the actual scroll itself. Both of those, that's two different ways that you can actually delete spells from your opponent, and it is still a 4-up to do it, but a coin flip to take away a teleport. Teleports are really, really strong as is. And even with the change, I think they're strong. But if you destroy it, then there's no more teleport in that battle. And if that's central to my ability or to my army's game plan to be effective and I can no longer teleport, then that's just incredibly strong. Natural dispels are probably some of the cheapest items in the game, and they're almost always at 4 or 5 up. So that is very, very strong. And natural dispels, you can roll multiple natural dispels if different people or different banners, basically different sources of natural dispel, can stack on a unit. So if you're trying to teleport an opposing unit, you can just natural dispel that multiple different times, have multiple attempts at it. And then finally, Staff of Three Sisters and Enchanted Mirror. If you do nothing else but bring a level 2 with an Enchanted Mirror or Staff of Three Sisters, depending on how much points you want to spend, and a Dispel Scroll, you can shut down, at least for the first 1 or 2 or 3 magic phases, you can shut those down at 1,600 or 2,000 points with 2d6 winds of magic each turn. And if you play without first turn magic, if you play magic all 6 turns or all 5 turns of the game, magic is incredibly strong. Like, I think that's too strong. When we have a competitive rule set, and one of the reasons why I think competitive is the wrong word, but one of the reasons why we have these discussions and why we talk about balancing things out is to make things more competitively balanced, just so it's a more fun game and a more fun product. Well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to have this exercise on how do I make things more competitively balanced, then you also have to ask yourself, am I playing the competitive rule set? If you're playing with magic in turn 1, the top of turn 1 and the bottom of turn 1, if you're playing with magic, it is incredibly strong. It probably is too strong because you can just start zipping things around and casting things. The reason why there is a competitive rule set is for better balance. So if you're going to balance spells, make sure that you're also playing from that competitive frame of reference or gaming. And again, you don't have to be like a try-hard power gamer, but you do need to play from a standpoint of, okay, I'm going to play the game in its most balanced competitive nature as I can, to therefore have the best gaming experience when I'm playing, the game with my buddies. And yeah, there's bragging rights, but if you're not playing from a competitive standpoint, from those competitive rules, then a lot of the things I'm saying aren't going to make sense or really apply, or you'll be like, well, magic's still too strong. Well, of course it is if you play it in the first turn. I just think the magic phase is Warhammer, and it is on the player and the list to have an idea of how you're going to interact with that phase. I mean, I've even played Khorne. Khorne's one of the 4 or 5 factions that I play. And even with Khorne, I think about, okay, I'm clearly not going to play in the magic phase. I'm Khorne, but I am going to have an idea of how I'm going to deal with it, or what items I'm going to bring, or how am I going to minimize the impact of just abundant magic everywhere. Thankfully, Khorne is very fast. They've got great characters. I don't have to spend a lot in my characters to make them very killy and deal with my opponent's characters. So that's a very big benefit. But it is still something that is central to my game plan and to my list building, is what am I going to do with the magic phase? In fact, like, I think the shooting phase is probably less impactful. Now, to be fair, I don't play any factions that have war machines in them. The Hell Cannon is optional, and really you shouldn't play it, because Baldur says himself, it is not competitive. And if it's not competitive and I have to ask my opponent, then I'm not going to bring it, and blah, 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 so on and so forth. But yeah, shooting phase even feels less impactful. And we'll talk about that another time, another episode, different time. I still think teleports are hard to get right. They're easy to spot coming in the setup phase of the game. There's going to be a time where you reveal your mundane lists, and you have to reveal your lores. And if you say the lore of shadows, or the gray magic, I'm immediately just going to say, okay, he's trying to get one of the 3 teleport spells, and I have to now deploy and think different. So I can start planning for the magic phase and planning for teleport spells before pieces even get on the board. And if you're not thinking about those things, then, and all of a sudden somebody just teleports something, it's like, oh my God, yeah, that is going to be just a ruinous thing if you think that can't even be in the realm of possibilities. So I think they're really easy to spot from a list building standpoint. They're really tough to get right. As they currently are constructed, teleporting 1 unit in your magic phase allows me to charge in my turn, and like I can teleport something and charge it into the turn before you have another chance to react to it. And was that combo probably too central to what was being played at like the most competitive list? Probably. It was definitely something. You can watch a couple of our battle reports. I want to say like Battle Report 5, or I can't remember which one, but I've played a couple of Lizardman lists where I have double slan, and the whole purpose of the double slan is to throw my mummy slan all over the battlefield and have him just absolutely hit as hard as he possibly can in the flanks and rears of things. And that was probably, is that really good? And did it feel really bad? And like you could do nothing when a mummified slan mage priest was charging you in the rear, no matter what unit that is. I was absolutely smashing things. And so was it too central? Yeah, probably. But guess what? Will teleport still be good to great with these new changes? Absolutely. This is the wording that he would like to change it to, and we'll just briefly read it. I know you can read it too, but teleported units are considered to have used their entire movement in the subsequent movement phase. Consequently, if you teleport during your opponent's magic phase, you cannot move, which that's important, move. And I wonder if it should be move or charge. Like you can't charge, but you can still move. But I digress. That's a question I have for later. You cannot move when it becomes your movement phase immediately afterward. I think that's worded perfectly, other than the move charge clarification. However, if you teleport during your own magic phase, you can still move when it becomes your movement phase after your opponent has completed his or her player turn. All of that sounds great. And I think that's a worthwhile change. And I think that was something that when we played, I wasn't able to teleport and charge, but by the end of the second game I played, I did a combo that was absolutely just as disgusting and devastating to my opponent and won me the game. A teleport spell won me the game. So I think it can still win. You can still get beat by teleports. But with these changes, I think the biggest thing, and I didn't have this written down, but I just want to, like, my forward thinking lens, I think the meta is going to shift in this direction. I think natural dispels are really easy to get, but there really wasn't a whole lot of reason to grab them, because it's cheaper and more effective to dispel with a mage hiding somewhere in the backfield that has either the enchanted mirror or the staff of 3 sisters. It was much easier just to dispel stuff that way. Or if you didn't dispel stuff with that, you could have destroy magic scrolls. You could have scrolls of some sort, but then you could also build like a powerful offensive wizard and just play like just give it your best shot that way too, which is also a great call. But natural dispels really kind of got ignored, at least in our group, because of the way we play together. And maybe it was just a meta thing, but natural dispels were left by the wayside because not a lot of things were being targeted at opposing units or at my stuff. So why do I need to natural dispel these different units when I can just big dispel it? And if I don't big dispel it, it doesn't matter. None of my naturals work because you're teleporting or you're self buffing. And that was, again, probably too central. But now that you know that the only way you can get really, really, really screwed by a teleport spell is if your opponent teleports your own unit somewhere where they can be now charged. Well, now the easiest and the most cost-effective way to prevent being teleported is to start buying natural dispels at an insanely cheap rate, and they are a 4-up coin flip. I mean, it is awesome and easy and effective to shut down teleports. So I would end with this. I would say this. I think Magic is in a great spot. I think this is an awesome change to teleport, and I think he will probably end up doing it more than likely. And I think it makes the game more interesting, and it achieves his intended effect, which is basically saying, hey, just don't bring teleports every single time. Other spells and other things should be just as attractive and competitively balanced. And because he has that viewpoint, I do believe that this will actually achieve the things he's setting out to do. But I would end with this. I wonder how many people who play this, who are commenting and testing, and maybe you are, I have no idea. We haven't had this conversation, you and I. But I wonder how many people are playing the competitive rule set. And if you are, do you still feel Magic is too strong and too overpowered? And if you do, I would love to hear your thoughts about how and why you think that is in the comments on our Facebook group. But yeah, last question I have. Can I disorient my opponent's units by teleporting them on my Magic phase, causing them not to move or charge? I think that would be a very, very strong wrinkle. I think that would keep teleport spells probably still on the same level as they are currently in the rules in the 2023 rule book. I think that would keep teleports on the same power level moving forward in the 24 rule book. However, it will be easier to stop and easier to dispel. Let me know what you think. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of thoughts. I wanted to play it first, and I wanted to really, really sink my teeth into what I thought if this was like a good change, bad change. And I think this will be a great change. Keep up the good work. Go paint your minis. I'll see you next time, friends.